Ensuring that citizens adapt healthy lifestyle practices will lead to greater levels of productivity, and protecting our farmers from predial thieves will lead to increased production and economic growth. So the messages are being shared. Hello and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. Let's get the show rolling.
Experiencing flu-like symptoms such as coughing, fever, or runny nose? Has it caused severe aches and pains? Is it difficult to breathe? Have you been feeling dizzy? What about diarrhea, vomiting, or dehydration? If the answer is yes, see your doctor or the nearest health center right away. These are all symptoms of the influenza A H1N1 virus. Be smart. Seek medical attention today.
Good day, I'm Tamara McHale, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, April 21. Starting September, high school students will no longer have to pay auxiliary fees. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid says an additional $2 billion will be provided across 2 budget periods to fund the policy change. The money will be disbursed to schools in tranches.
So effectively, we'll move the contribution to schools in a range of the current $11,500 to $19,000. What we've said, we are going to meet with all the stakeholders, the principals, and I'm sure they'll have thoughts for the JTA to see how we can model this additional resources, and that the term auxiliary fee and the request for auxiliary fees can in fact be extinguished as we look at other options to ensure the system is fully funded.
Minister Reid made the announcement on Wednesday while addressing graduates of the Aspiring Principals Program. The program is delivered by the National College of Educational Leadership in collaboration with the University of the West Indies School of Education. The Agriculture Ministry is partnering with the Cuban government to acquire durable industrial equipment to aid local farmers. Minister without portfolio J.C. Hutchinson says the aim is to make the agriculture sector more efficient and productive. He was speaking after a demonstration of the equipment at the Borders Research Station on Tuesday. The equipment will assist farmers with the plowing of their land and removal of weeds.
We are eager to see and assess the suitability of this equipment, especially against the background of our goal to boost the production of levels of farmers and thereby continue the government's commitment to ensure an agricultural industry that brings growth and prosperity to Jamaica.
Minister Hutchinson said there were also plans to bring in small processing machines that farmers could use to process fruits and vegetables into puree and juice.
Our vision for the agricultural sector is one that will drive industrial development. And as we seek to modernize the sector, technological advancement and the increased use of appropriate implements are necessary to stimulate growth and productivity.
Government will be bringing legislation in 2016-2017 to spur economic growth and job creation in the ICT sector. Portfolio Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley says legislation is being developed to facilitate ICT development, data protection, open data, and greater cybersecurity.
These areas are key to maximizing the use of information and knowledge as a catalyst for growth and economic development.
The minister was speaking at the launch of the National Commercial Bank's Digital Tech Symposium on Wednesday. He used the opportunity to encourage the private sector to join the ICT movement.
We will be depending on the partnerships with the private sector to promote and implement the technologies, as well as to assist with the necessary public engagement. We believe that through public and private sector partnerships, we have what it takes to advance Jamaica's regional leadership in ICT and the creation of the digital economy.
The St. Lucian government is studying Jamaica's program of advancement through health and education path as part of best practices in social protection. A 5-member team from St. Lucia's Ministry of Social Transformation, Local Government and Community Empowerment arrived on the island on Monday for a week-long study tour of PATH. It's their second first-hand review of the program.
PATH is founded on the premise of breaking the intergenerational cycle of poverty. So as you come here and you study our program, we hope that you will take some of the best, learn from some of our mistakes, and I know the team will be open and honest with you because we really want you to learn from our experience.
The Labour and Social Security Ministry's Permanent Secretary was speaking at Monday's welcome ceremony at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has engaged the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management (ODPEM) to ensure that the country is able to respond adequately to earthquakes. Mr. Holness, who is also chairman of the National Disaster Preparedness Committee, says focus will also be placed on public education so that Jamaicans can better prepare and safeguard themselves if an earthquake occurs. The Prime Minister's statement follows a 6.9 magnitude earthquake which impacted Barbados and resulted in tremors in St. Vincent and the Grenadines Wednesday morning. He also pledged Jamaica's support to get the countries back to normal. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thanks for watching.
A new government has been formed. Hear their plans as each minister share their vision. Watch Issues and Answers this and every Sunday on this station to hear members of the cabinet talk about their portfolios and projections. That's Issues and Answers this and every Sunday for your one-on-one time with the ministers.
Smoking may be a cool lifestyle to some people, but the health risks are far from cool. In fact, the risks are many and costly. And over the years, the Jamaica Cancer Society has been sharing this and other information with students to prevent them from taking up this dangerous habit.
Cancer is usually the first thing that comes to mind when talking about the effects of smoking. But the fact is, cancer is just one of several harmful effects to the body. And if you look at the bigger picture, you will see that smoking affects the body from head to toe. This information was part of the message being shared with close to 500 students who were at the Jamaica Cancer Society's Anti-Tobacco Youth Forum in March. The main message?
We want to say to you this morning, don't be fooled. Cigarette has an agent in it, nicotine. It's highly addictive, and once you start, it's going to be difficult for you to stop.
Quoting from statistics out of the United States, Dr. Foster said smoking-related illnesses killed more people per year than AIDS, fires, road crashes, murders, suicide, and alcohol combined. Her presentation had the attention of the students, and she continued by telling them that persons who smoke usually experimented with either things like alcohol or drugs.
And then you're addicted, and then you're dying to quit. When we say you're dying to quit, we're not speaking about it in the figurative sense, we're talking about it in the literal sense, in that the longer you take to quit, the more likely you're going to die from the effects of cigarette smoking. Every cigarette smoke reduces life by 11 minutes. Think about it. Every carton reduces life by a day and a half. Every year a person smokes a pack a day, his life is shortened by about 2 months. And the years of life expectancy of a typical smoker loses is 25 years. So you lose about 25 years if you spend your life smoking.
The 6th staging of the Jamaica Cancer Society Anti-Tobacco Youth Forum was held under the theme #MakeWeTalk. It focused on areas such as risky behaviors among adolescents and empowering young adults. The event included video and audio-visual presentations and talks from representatives from the Ministry of Health, National Chest Hospital, National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA, Heart Foundation of Jamaica, and the Association of General Practitioners.
What we're doing is giving the information at this point that all form of smoking and vaping is dangerous, especially to developing body and developing mind.
And whereas students believed that smoking hookah or electronic cigarette was much safer, Substance Abuse Officer at the NCDA, Daniel Brown, raised the red flag.
Did you know you can get an STI from smoking a hookah? No. Understand this. The mouthpiece, what is down the bottom, because you do what? You share it. They move from mouth to mouth to mouth. So if the person has a STI, what you do with it? You pass it along. All right? Did you know when you sit down in a session for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes smoking a hookah is equal equivalent to smoking about 100 cigarettes or more one time?
A research done by the NCDA in 2010 showed that Jamaican youth begin smoking as early as 13 years of age. The data also showed that at least 44.4% of students have smoked at least once, 31.3% smoked a tobacco product, and 20.2% have smoked cigarettes.
Teen smokers have a harder time competing in sports, right? They're more likely to get sick from colds and flus. They're not going to be able to perform at your maximum and achieve the best from your schooling and your education. We know that within minutes of a person smoking a cigarette, it affects their heart rate goes up, they get constriction in their blood vessels, even their lungs, they get tightening of their airway and increased production of mucus.
After hearing these important presentations, we spoke with a few of the students and one teacher to get their reactions.
It has helped me a lot, to understand the importance of drugs and substance abuse.
We really need to enforce this in the schools more, and to have students like myself notified more about that it's not good for the body, and that we need to be more serious about it and to say no when we have friends that are pressuring us to do such bad things.
What I learned is that smoking, it can damage the brain.
I believe that this is a good initiative by the Jamaica Cancer Society to make students aware of drugs, and we're not naive that some students are smoking, and by bringing the information to them, that it will deter some of them, and also they will take it back to their peers as to why they shouldn't smoke also.
I think more students will be more aware, and the more awareness we get, it is the more students are able to make better decisions, which will impact Jamaica.
The impact hopefully includes less youth being involved in tobacco or drug usage, more students empowered to focus on their studies, and a generation that will spread the message of the dangers of tobacco.
The item of the future. Drugs and everything that is negative will take away from Jamaica's rich future, which is embedded within the item. If we don't rise, then Jamaica is doomed to fail. Say we love Jamaica. Say no, we're no better than Jamaica. Yeah. Our island paradise, real Jamaican pride.
A perennial larceny prevention essay competition has been launched in schools. It's part of a public education campaign to highlight the significant impact of farm theft on farmers, the community, or health and economy. Here is how you can get involved.
The Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries has launched a perennial larceny prevention essay competition as part of its public education campaign. It is open to 4-H Club members and students from all primary and secondary schools. The primary school category is for students ages 9 to 12 years, and they are being asked to write on the topic How does predial larceny affect the farmers in your community? This should be no longer than 500 words. Meanwhile, students ages 13 to 18 years from secondary schools will write on what are the socio-economic impacts of predial larceny on the Jamaican agricultural sector. This should be no longer than 1,500 words. The competition closes on April 29 and all entries must be sent via email to plpu@moa.gov.jm or you can mail or drop it off at the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit.
All entries should include the essay, which should be the original work of the student. It should also include the application form and one passport-size photograph.
Application forms are available at principal offices within schools and on the Agriculture Ministry's website. Students will also need to pay close attention to the criteria governing the competition, which can also be found on the website. The essay competition provides a medium for students to express in a creative and original manner how predial larceny affects the livelihood of residents in farming communities and the wider Jamaican society.
So this essay competition, we are encouraging students to do their research, to educate their parents. Let us educate our communities about the devastating impact and of course the health risk, the grave health risk associated with the theft of agricultural produce.
According to the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, the socio-economic impact of predial larceny in both the crop and livestock industries is harsh and worrying. Figures from the ministry revealed that between 2010 and 2014, some 786 animals, worth an estimated $1.7 million, were stolen and butchered by thieves. However, strides have been made with the establishment of the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit in 2015. 10,406 farm patrols were conducted by the police between January 2015 and February 2016, with 259 arrests made. Joint operations with public health inspectors resulted in the inspection of 1,348 abattoirs in the same period. And so, as the Predial Larceny Prevention Unit continues its robust operation, it has extended its public education campaign to schools. The hope is that through the essay competition, these students will spread the message and encourage a coming together of communities in the fight against farm theft. For more information about the essay competition, call the ministry at 927-1731-41.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
The recently held Expo Jamaica got positive reviews from booth holders who participated in the event. We were there and captured their views.
My thoughts are that it's only going to get better with time. This is a good area for us to be out in the public.
The expo is fabulous. I mean, if you have a small business, medium or whatever, this is the place. I've met so many people who are in the same areas as we are that coordinate cohesively with all the products that we do, our machinery, people that we didn't even know. For instance, UTEC has a plasma cutting machine that makes new parts, and we always have issues with importing parts from overseas. I mean, the networking is fabulous.
This is our first year, Victoria Farms. This is the first year that Victoria Farms has been participating in the Expo Jamaica, and we could not have been happier for the response from the market.
It has been tremendous, right? We have really gotten even some persons emailing us up to last night, right? So based on the quality of the taste that they got here, right? So we have gotten a great expose in the marketplace and internationally, I think.
It has done very good for me because already I've received comments from people, I've gotten persons who wants to buy. So, you know, after the expo, we're going to meet up and do business.
Up next, a look at how the Education Ministry has been facilitating learning among deaf students.
So much has been done by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information to advance learning of deaf students. And with me to talk about these achievements is Education Officer within the Ministry, Christina Addington. Welcome, Mrs. Addington.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about the different stages of hearing loss and how it affects the ability to learn in the traditional school system.
Okay, well, Anjoy, hearing loss occurs on a continuum based going from hard of hearing to deafness. And on this continuum, there are different levels. So we start off with a mild hearing loss, then you can have a moderate loss, a severe loss, or a profound loss. It's important to note that it is the level of loss being experienced by the child that really impacts on if the child is able to be educated in the traditional system or if the child has to be educated in a segregated system. For children who experience mild hearing losses, for the most part, they're able to cope and experience success in the regular school system. But for this to happen, there have to be a couple factors that have to be in place. Firstly, the student has to be amplified, fitted with hearing aids. The child has to be in a small school setting, most importantly, in a small class size, so that there's not a lot of background information to distort information being shared between teacher and the students in the classroom environment. Another thing is the teacher working with a child has to ensure that she or he utilizes specific strategies that will help the child maximize whatever residual hearing that the child has. So things like placing the child at the front of the class. The teacher has to also remember he or she cannot turn their backs to the class while teaching. They have to ensure that they always have the child's attention, let the child know when they're speaking to them. And the greatest thing I think also is that the parents have to be very, very involved, because once there's great parent involvement in the educational life of the child with a mild loss, then this will better ensure success.
So Mrs. Addington, how many specialized schools are there for these students?
Well, to date, we have 7 special education schools for the deaf across the island in Jamaica. We have 3 public schools which are operated in partnership between the Ministry of Education and the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. These are the Danny Williams School for the Deaf. They are in Kingston, in Hope Estate, Papine, and they have 2 satellites. One, a preschool center, which is attached to the school, and another unit class at the Excelsior Primary School. The St. Christopher School for the Deaf is also a primary school, and that school is in Brownstown, St. Anne, and it has a boarding facility. And Lister Mayor Gilby High School for the Deaf is the high school for the deaf. And that school has 2 satellites, so they have a satellite in Maypen and they have a satellite in Port Antonio. The other 4 schools are private schools. They are the Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf. They operate 3 schools, one in St. James, one in Manchester, and one in Kingston, and the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf, and they operate in Lethe, St. James.
So how has the ministry been advancing the learning of these students in these particular institutions?
Well, the ministry has been playing its part. For the most part, there is greater interaction and greater support to the public schools. One of the things that the ministry has done a couple of years ago, through discussions, the special education unit lobbied for posts of teachers' assistants to be established for the schools, special schools. And so the schools for the deaf, all the schools for the deaf, public schools, they got teachers' assistants. It's important to note that these teachers' assistants, they're not called teachers' assistants in the schools for the deaf, but they're called deaf culture facilitators. So although their role is to assist in helping the teachers to bring across the concepts, they also have another, which is a more important role, which is they are the deaf models for the children. The children are deaf, they are deaf, so the children have models and they display the culture, the deaf culture. So then and there, the children are seeing and learning about their culture and learning that it is okay to be deaf. They're deaf and it's a part of life and how they can succeed. The ministry also has put in place quality education circles, and all the schools for the deaf are engaged in a quality education circle. So the principals meet with administrators from other schools, they share information, and so the principals are able to learn and get advice and share information. The high school for the deaf has benefited from being placed on the e-learning Jamaica project, and so all the teachers there have been trained and are better equipped to, infuse the technology into the teaching learning process.
So what are the advantages of learning in these specialized institutions?
Main advantage, I would say, is at the schools for the deaf, the pupil-teacher ratio is 8:1. So we talk about 8 students to 1 teacher. Now, when you compare that with a regular school system where it's 1:35, but in most cases 1:40 or some more, we can say that the children are in a setting which makes concessions that they cannot hear, so they need more time to be spent interacting, engaging in learning. That the teachers, for the most part, in these institutions are special education trained. So the teachers are trained in deaf education, and while in school they have what they call in-service training, where the Jamaica Association for Deaf provides training in them gaining Jamaican Sign Language competence. So we know that the teachers, are being trained to effectively communicate with the children. So they're getting the information because it's being effectively passed on to them in a manner which they understand. The methodologies used are methodologies which are specific for enhancing learning with the population. And as I say, small setting, persons know and better understand them and are better able to work with them.
Perfect note to end on, and signs for you to follow up on. We want to thank Mrs. Christina Addington from the Special Education Unit in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information for sharing with us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, until next time, see you around.
Before we go, a reminder to students and schools to log on to the Ministry of Agriculture's website for more information on the Pradial Larceny Prevention Essay Competition. Join us again tomorrow for another program and keep the link via our website, jis.gov.jm. Remember to send us your feedback via email or a tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.